All right, I think we got a pretty healthy crowd by now. Some more people might be trickling in, but I think we can go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our official launch of the Tri-County Regional Energy Network's Multifamily Home Energy Savings Program. My name is Marissa Hanson-Lopez. I'm the program manager based out of the county of Santa Barbara. I'm joined here by some of my other 3C-REN colleagues from across the Tri-County and our program implementer team as well, who is led by the Association for Energy Affordability, or AEA. We are very excited to have you all here today and to share some more about what this program will be able to offer for multifamily buildings throughout the Tri-County. Oops. So just some Zoom housekeeping items before we get into the presentation. I think everybody should be on mute for right now, but if you're not, please go ahead and mute yourself. If you have questions or comments throughout the presentation, feel free to type them into the chat. Nick will be monitoring the chat and answering questions along the way. And then there will be an opportunity for questions at the end if you'd like to ask any out loud. You'll be able to unmute yourself then, or utilize the raise hand function and we'll call on you. Also, finally, this webinar is being recorded. We'll be posting it to our website tomorrow, so anyone who was unable to attend or would like to go back and review today's presentation can do so then. All right, so before we get into some of the program details of the Multifamily Home Energy Savings Program, I'll just provide a brief overview of 3C-REN overall. The Tri-County Regional Energy Network, or 3C-REN, is a collaborative partnership amongst the counties of San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura. And it was established to deliver energy saving programs and industry trainings that help reduce energy use, strengthen local job markets, and support efforts to achieve climate goals. So 3C-REN is funded by ratepayer dollars through the Public Benefits Fund. So everyone who pays a utility bill pays into this fund each month. And 3C-REN is bringing some of those funds back to benefit the Tri-County region through the programs that we offer. 3C-REN currently administers 3 programs: the Energy Code Connect program, Building Performance Training, and the Home Energy Savings program. And instead of talking about these, I'm going to share a video that'll hopefully be a little more entertaining, that'll describe a little more of our programs in detail and what they all offer.
We're 3C-REN, the Tri-County Regional Energy Network. Our name says it all. We are 3 counties working together to improve energy efficiency, helping our region meet state and regional climate goals. And we're a network connecting local governments, businesses, and neighborhoods to bring energy savings, workforce development, and economic opportunities to our communities. 3C-REN programs are making our buildings energy smart and helping upskill, diversify, and grow our building industry workforce.
Currently, 3C-REN offers 3 programs: Home Energy Savings, Building Performance Training, and Energy Code Connect. 3C-REN's Building Performance Training program works with building professionals, helping them understand building energy so they can deliver the best service to their clients. Building Performance Training offers classes on topics like HVAC systems, heat pump technology, zero net energy, and other foundations of building science. We work with local architects, contractors, real estate professionals, and others to encourage a forward-thinking approach to energy efficiency, supporting businesses and adding value for customers at the same time.
Our expert instruction helps develop the skills needed to create high-performance buildings where every element works together as a system, creating greater efficiency, comfort, health, and resilience. Visit the 3C-REN website to search and register for classes, or contact us to schedule a customized presentation.
3C-REN Energy Code Connect makes code compliance easy. Energy Code Connect helps the region meet state climate goals with trainings, forums, and personalized energy code support for building industry professionals. Energy Code coaches answer technical questions about modeling and compliance reporting to support building departments or private firms. Coaches can review building plans, meet with local building departments, and provide on-site construction meetings to discuss your specific energy code and California Green Building Standards needs. 3C-REN targeted trainings and regional forums make it easier to use, comply with, and enforce California's energy code. Contact us online or by phone for support.
Home Energy Savings helps residents and building owners lower utility bills while creating healthier, more comfortable homes. From smaller, free upgrades like a new smart thermostat to deeply discounted ones like replacing an old, inefficient water heater with a safer, ultra-efficient heat pump water heater, 3C-REN makes projects affordable and the installation process simple. They can also advise customers on financing options, identify other incentive programs to layer on, and help plan for future upgrades. Visit our website to learn more. We're 3C-REN. Learn more about how we can help you at 3c-ren.org.
All right, hopefully you all enjoyed that and have a little better understanding of the suite of services and programs that 3C-REN offers. I'm now going to hand it over to my colleague, David Sigan from AEA, who is going to provide an overview of the Multifamily Home Energy Savings Program. David.
Great, thanks, Marissa. And hi, everyone. I'm David Sigan, and I'm a program associate with AEA, like Marissa said. And I'm a part of the team that's working on the implementation of this program. So today I have the pleasure of sharing with you all an overview of the program structure. And what I'll cover includes property eligibility, the incentive structure, eligible measures, the no-cost technical assistance service, and how to participate in the program. And before we jump into it, just at a high level, the program offers rebates and no-cost technical assistance directly to decision makers at the property to encourage comprehensive whole building retrofits at existing multifamily buildings. Next slide. So as far as property eligibility goes, there are three basic criteria that must be met to qualify for the program. First, the property must be located in the counties of San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, or Ventura. Second, it must be an existing multifamily building, which is defined as having 5 or more residential units. And this includes residences such as homeless shelters, senior housing, HOAs, and university dormitories. And third, the property must receive utility service from PG&E, SCE, or SoCalGas, and that's gas or electric service. And this makes almost all properties in the Tri-County region eligible, even if the property receives electricity from a CCA or community choice aggregator. It's still eligible because the IOUs listed there are still the ones delivering the electricity. Next slide. Whole building base rebates. So for the rebate structure, there are 2 tiers of whole building rebates, both of which are allocated on a per apartment basis. So it's $750 per unit for underserved properties and $500 per unit for general market properties or all others. And an underserved property, which qualifies for the $750 per unit, must meet one of the following criteria listed there. So either it contains less than 100 units, it's an affordable housing property, which is defined as either having deed restrictions for at least 65% of units, or being a naturally occurring affordable housing property. And one example of that could be having over 65% of units qualify for CPUC's CARE-FIRA income guidelines. And the last criteria is geographical. So the property could be located in an AB 1550 low-income community or an SB 535 disadvantaged community. And that alone would make it a underserved property. And since this is a whole building comprehensive retrofit program, to qualify for these rebates, the scope of work must include at least 3 distinct measures, and it must project to save a minimum threshold of greenhouse gas emissions. And that threshold is going to be 0.25 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent in annual emissions per apartment unit. And that's something that the technical assistant, or what we call a TA, will work with the participant to make sure that a scope is selected that meets these requirements. Next slide. So if the property meets the savings threshold defined in the previous slide and qualifies for that whole building rebate, there are additional measure level rebates for high performing technologies that are available, and they're listed in this table here. And examples include heat pump water heaters or heat pump HVAC units. And these additional incentives come on either a per apartment basis for central equipment or per equipment basis for in-unit. And the intention is to further help offset the costs of some high performing measures. Next slide. As far as measure eligibility, in short, any measure that we can reliably show contributes to natural gas or electricity savings is going to be eligible for the program. So this includes central and in-unit domestic hot water systems. And some examples there would be in-unit heat pump hot water tank systems, pictured here in the top left, but also pipe insulation or recirculation pump controls. Then heating, ventilation, and cooling systems. And some examples there would be a split heat pump system, pictured there, but also improved ducts like duct sealing or smart thermostats. Lighting and appliances. This could be integrated LED fixtures, either in unit or in common areas. Also Energy Star refrigerators, Energy Star front load washers, low flow appliances, etc. And lastly, building envelope measures like air sealing, windows, and insulation. And for insulation, one thing to note when meeting the 3 measure minimum requirement, attic insulation is going to be a separate measure than, say, wall insulation. And for all these measures, they can be installed in unit or in common area. It'll all be, the savings will be aggregated together and contribute to meeting that minimum threshold. Next slide. So to illustrate a typical project and the rebates associated with it, here's an example scope of work for a 25 unit apartment. So we have a central heat pump water heater, pipe insulation, recirculation pump controls, and common area LED lighting. And the TA would conduct an analysis based off of the pre-existing conditions at the site and show that this scope achieves greater than the minimum threshold. And that threshold is calculated by multiplying the units, 25, by the 0.25 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. And that comes out to 6.25 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions. So we do the analysis, we show that it achieves greater savings, and then it qualifies for the rebates. And the rebates are calculated 25 units times the $750, and with an adder rebate for the central heat pump water heater of $800 times 25 units. Next slide. Great, so no cost technical assistance. So we just covered the rebate aspect of this program, but we all know that money is not the only barrier to these projects. There's also time and expertise. This program aims to bridge that gap by offering services to make the retrofit as simple as possible. And this includes energy bill analysis, in-person site assessment. So the TA takes inventory of existing systems and identifies opportunities for improvements. Scope of work development. After the site assessment, the TA will work with the participant to determine a cost-effective scope that qualifies for the rebates. Support during the contracting and implementation of measures. Here, the property owner or manager will still be responsible for getting bids and hiring contractors, but the TA will be available during that process to help out and to troubleshoot issues and just support along the way. And lastly, one-stop shop to connect with other program rebates. I definitely want to highlight this one. There are many programs out there that can be difficult to track and apply to. So your TA and the whole 3C-REN team will be working behind the scenes to identify all eligible programs and maximize the incentive payment for the energy improvements that the participant is undergoing. So like examples for that, while solar rebates are not available through this program, the TA might still recommend rooftop solar as a good measure to undergo. And we'll coordinate with other programs out there to see what rebates are available. So that's like a complementary rebate. There may be opportunities to layer rebates as well for the same technology. So if you're installing a heat pump water heater and there's another program out there that also offers incentives for that, we'll make sure that you can take advantage of both and really make it an attractive installation. Next slide. Participation process. So here's a graphic just to illustrate the 5 steps of participating. So it starts out with filling out an interest form online at the 3C-REN website. And this will prompt someone on the 3C-REN team to call you and confirm eligibility and collect some preliminary information. Next, energy consulting. So you receive energy consulting. This is when the TA conducts the site assessment. They'll deliver a report summarizing energy improvement recommendations and work with the participant to develop a approved scope of work for the program. Reserve the rebate, then install the upgrades in the approved scope of work, and lastly, claim the rebate. And here the check is sent to the participant in the rear. So after installation is complete, that's when a lump sum check will be sent to the participant. And that's it. So with that, I'll pass it back to Marissa to introduce Danny and Michaela to talk about program benefits.
All right, thank you, David. Yeah, as he mentioned, I'd like to introduce Michaela Topi from Frontier Energy and Danny Edelston from Community Environmental Council, both part of our implementer team, to talk about the benefits of participating in the Multifamily Home Energy Savings Program.
Great, thanks you two. Thanks everyone for taking the time to join today's webinar. Marissa, next slide. I want to kick things off by giving you all an overview of the multifamily housing market within the Tri-County region. So first, just wanted to highlight that there's over 82,000 units within the region, and over half of these multifamily units were constructed prior to 1979. This means that the majority of these units were constructed before any major energy code standard was ever established within the state of California. This poses a huge opportunity for huge energy savings potential within the region, especially when we look at California statewide. However, California energy efficiency programs have historically underserved the Tri-County region despite this fact. And I also wanted to note that within these types of programs, those who tend to be renters or those who come from low-income families or are low-income families tend to be also historically underserved by these energy efficiency programs. And on top of that, potentially causes more susceptibility to energy burdens, meaning that these folks are most likely experiencing difficulty paying energy bills. So I wanted to highlight this because the 3C-REN was established to address and keep in mind these types of issues that impact folks who have historically been underserved within California's energy efficiency market and provide solutions to addressing these issues. Marissa, if you could move to the next slide. So just wanted to highlight that these were the key things that informed the program design, but we also want to think about how this program could potentially benefit you and serve you as well. So just wanted to quickly highlight that this program, it aims to expose folks to easy, affordable, accessible opportunities to reducing energy costs and greenhouse gas emissions while creating a pathway for multifamily properties to meet their energy needs in an efficient and sustainable manner. So we would do this by supporting the Tri-County residents by providing resources to making cost-effective building upgrades and also promoting the importance of achieving energy savings to lower energy costs for residents in the Tri-County area. And we also want to make sure that we're assisting residents who have historically been underserved by energy efficiency programs by providing them with the investments that they need to make these transition to within their unit or within their building in general to ensure that their buildings are energy efficient. So I will kick it over to my colleague Danny to give you all an overview of the key benefits that not only community members will receive, but you all can receive by participating in this program as well.
Thanks, Michaela. Yeah, very well said. So the way that we've set up this program, we really want to make sure that the benefits are felt both by property owners and managers, and then also by tenants of the building. And we do that in a few ways. So let's talk about those program benefits. Particularly kind of through the structure of the program by having additional incentives available for disadvantaged communities, or also by having additional incentives for specific new technologies. We're working to improve the accessibility of these really high performing and really energy efficient technologies. And that way we can kind of increase energy investments to community members that have, higher energy burdens, those that we know have been most impacted by COVID and other events, so that they can feel the benefits of these improvements most strongly. And that way we're increasing the opportunities both for tenants and for property owners and managers to achieve cost and energy savings. So between, common area measures that will save money on those costs, and then also on costs that will be found in the tenants and occupants' utility bills. Another big benefit is enhancing the comfort of occupants. So by having kind of really high performing heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems that improves comfort and can lead to an increase in tenant retention. And then additionally, with improved appliances, moving to all electric heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and water heating, we can improve the safety and health of tenants and make sure that their comfort is prioritized. And one other thing I just wanted to emphasize, David did a great job of emphasizing the point, but a big benefit of participating in the program to property owners is kind of having this main point of contact to evaluate the many different programs and opportunities out there, and identify places where incentives can layer, identify places where incentives can be complementary. It's a big benefit to the property owners. Next slide, please. All right, and we can also talk a little bit about the environmental benefits of participating in the program. So as was said, we're taking these utility dollars and investing them back in the community in a way that we can help to reduce the amount of energy that's used, or also increase the adoption of these really high performing appliances. And so by implementing this program and by your participation, we can help our region to meet the greenhouse gas emission reduction goals that have been set. By using less electricity or by switching fuels, we can reduce both the indoor and the outdoor air pollution that will help the health of our residents or everyone in our region. And then, as said, there have been a lot of improvements and maturation of a lot of these new technologies that are really high performing. And by having this program running, we can accelerate the adoption of those technologies. And the benefits of adopting those technologies and taking the energy use and emissions of the building sector and electrifying them or improving their energy use are actually really strongly felt, because as our region transitions to more renewable energy, then moving those appliances to being electric even further reduces the greenhouse gas emissions and helps us to meet our greenhouse gas emission reductions goals even more quickly. And with that, I'll pass it back to Marissa to introduce the next speaker.
All right, thank you, Michaela and Danny. So last year, 3C-REN had the opportunity to partner on a comprehensive energy efficiency retrofit project with People's Self-Help Housing on 3 farm worker housing complexes in Santa Maria and Guadalupe. AEA was the project lead on this project, and I'd like to introduce David Gardy from AEA to talk a little bit more in depth about the project and the benefits they were able to deliver for this multifamily project. So, David.
Thanks so much, Marissa. I hope you can all hear me okay. Next slide, please. So the People Self-Help Housing, as Marissa mentioned, is an affordable housing developer that sought energy upgrades through the Low Income Weatherization Program, also known as LIWIP, which is a statewide energy upgrade program for affordable multifamily housing, which AEA administers. I was assigned as the technical assistant, and working together, we identified the 3 sites in Santa Barbara County that were selected as good candidates for the program. The development for the projects began in the fall of 2019, and as part of our project development, People Self-Help was able to partner with 3C-REN's essentially like a pilot program to co-leverage these resources, which was instrumental in making these projects financially viable. Next slide, please. The goals of the projects were to reduce utility costs and improve quality of life for the residents, while also reducing CO2 emissions, which contribute to climate change. Next slide. So a project scope was developed together along between People Self-Help and 3C-REN, and the project scope ended up being fairly identical across the 3 sites. The installation of the heat pump water heaters provided the most benefits, including reduced utility costs, reduced risk of gas leaks and carbon monoxide exposure, and it also eliminated the use of a fossil fuel for domestic hot water production. And you can see that image on the right, and you can also see some of the other measures we installed, including low flow shower heads, smart thermostats, and LED lighting. Next slide. So we wanted to just highlight some of the impact that we're seeing so far across the sites, and we chose one of the sites as an example. The graph show aggregated utility consumption from before and after the energy efficiency measures were installed, and a projection of the planned solar PV kilowatt hour production once it will be completed. The usage of natural gas dropped off significantly after the energy efficiency measures, especially once the heat pump water heaters were installed. And you can see that the effects of that on the left graph, which shows savings in natural gas. The net usage of electricity actually rose after the energy efficiency measures because the heat pump water heaters use electricity to heat the water. And so you can see on the right, the light blue lines show the increase in electricity usage, but you can see the kind of yellow shading behind the bars. That shows the average production of the planned solar PV, which is designed to completely offset electrical usage. And that will eliminate most of the electric utility costs for the residents, and also most of the offset most of the electric consumption. So we're really making a profound impact on the residents' lives and eliminating a lot of CO2. And then next slide, please. This graph just kind of shows a blended impact between the electricity and gas use combined. We've kind of combined them into one energy savings graph. And while we don't show the solar PV production on here, we want to show that even without it, we're seeing a pretty drastic reduction in total energy consumption so far. And this is the most up-to-date utility data we have available, but as we gather more, we'll be able to do more analysis of our impact at the site. And that's, I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. So hopefully we're able to provide you all with kind of a good sense of how the program works and the benefits that both you and the tenants will receive from participating, and as well as kind of a real world example for a similar type of project. So now we'd like to open it up for questions. Nick will be moderating the Q&A, and I don't know if any questions came in through the chat via the present or during the presentation, but we'll start there. Otherwise, we'll take whatever questions.
Yep. Yeah, we have a nice list of questions here. So David Segan, a couple questions for you. The first question, can you briefly describe the method for greenhouse gas reduction estimates? Is it time and location specific? Does it account for upstream fugitive methane or just on-site combustion?
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for that question. So the emission factors are simple factors for on-site combustion for natural gas. And so for the natural gas emissions factor, that comes from the EPA, and it doesn't account for fugitive emissions for delivery. As far as the electricity emissions factors go, we calculated that based off of proportionally based off of customers served by PG&E and SCE in the service territory, and those are annualized emissions factors of delivered electricity. So it includes all electricity that those IOUs deliver, and so it doesn't take account for like the time of generation. And yeah, hopefully that answers the question there.
Great, thanks, David. Yeah, we're definitely going for speed and some simplicity and predictability with those emissions factors. 8760 would be, hourly would be really fun to do, but it will just potentially slow down the process a little bit. Next question, another one for you, David Segan. Does the property owner need to use a certain contractor, or is the property owner responsible for finding their own contractor or installer?
Great, yeah, thanks for that question. So in this program, there's no restrictions on contractors. We're using a what's called as like an open contractor model. So it's completely up to the property owner to hire their contractor, and there's no restrictions on who they should hire in the region. That's my simple answer there.
Great, thanks, David. Yeah, and the program can help facilitate, if owners are looking for proposals or bids from contractors, we can try to help play matchmaker where needed. A couple other questions. I think I can take some of these. So one from Amanda, I noticed both AEA and Frontier are involved in program implementation. What are the difference in the roles? So the 3C-REN Multifamily Home Energy Savings Program, like Marissa mentioned at the beginning, it's a 3C-REN program, and then AEA is implementing the program on 3C-REN's behalf. And so AEA is overall responsible for program design and implementation. Our organization, we're a nonprofit organization, will be providing the technical assistance to properties, scope of work development, post-installation verifications, and then ultimately paying the incentives to participants. Also on the program implementation team is Frontier Energy. They're helping a lot with marketing and outreach, as well as intake and internal administration of the program. And additionally on the team was Danny from Community Environmental Council. So he and his team are helping a lot also on marketing and outreach, as well as community engagement. Let's see, another question here. How can we get, I'm going to combine two questions. How can we get a list of eligible measures, and what's the incentive structure we are expecting? So the first on the list of eligible measures, like David Segan mentioned earlier, really any measure that we can confidently show will save natural gas or electricity or can switch from natural gas to electricity is eligible for the program. So broadly speaking, in a multifamily building, that could be hot water, space heating or air conditioning, lighting, appliances, envelope, etc. So the measure list is pretty expansive. We do have a general table in our program manual that we can provide to projects as they enroll, and it's probably something we can eventually post on the website as well for additional stakeholders to review. David Segan, why don't you take the second question there? What's the incentive structure we are expecting?
Sure. Yeah. So, and maybe this will be posted, I think, somewhere. But so there's the whole building base rebate. That's a starter incentive. So that's the $750 per apartment unit for underserved properties. And then there's, or $500 per unit for general market, all other properties. And on top of that base incentive, which is on a per unit basis, there are additional measure level incentives for high performing technologies such as heat pump water heaters, heat pump HVAC units, and others. And yeah, is there, if we want to go into more detail, we could go back to the slides, but that's the general picture.
Great, thanks, David. David Gardy, a question for you on the case study you presented. What are the net bill impacts post retrofit?
So these projects are wrapping up their energy efficiency installation, and we are just now starting the analysis of utility cost. And so unfortunately, I don't really have a good answer for that question at this point, but it is something that we take seriously because we want to make sure that the residents are going to see the benefits in their utility bills. So we'll be doing monitoring of their and analysis of their utility bills. It is a bit of a complex issue because electricity costs for the same unit of energy can be more, and it also depends on like the rate that the apartment is signed up for with their CCA or PG&E, and so we're hoping to have good data in the near future, but we're confident we'll see savings, but we just don't know the actual number yet.
Great, thanks, David. A question back to you on David Gardy on that case study you presented with the 3C-REN pilot plus LIWIP. How much overall project cost was able to be covered by those leverage rebates?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. We were able to leverage not only LIWIP and the 3C-REN pilot program, but also another program called ESA, or Energy Savings Assistance. And all told, though, the project was able to leverage $199,755 in incentives, and the cost was $218,580. So the net was an $18,825 cost to the building owner, which was the vast majority of the cost.
Great, thanks, David. Let's see, I'm going to go back some earlier questions that were answered or asked. We'll jump back to those. One was from April. Would replacing broken appliances count towards the GHG savings? So I can take the answer to that. Short answer is yes. Existing equipment that's still operational, when it's replaced with a higher efficiency measure, that will result in GHG savings. And if appliances or mechanical equipment has reached the end of its useful life and it's broken, there can be savings for that equipment, but we would need to compare the savings relative to what a code minimum version of that equipment would be, since it's no longer working. So as long as it's better than business as usual, then there would be GHG savings for upgrading that equipment that has failed with a new higher efficiency item of equipment. A question earlier from the registration: how can a condo association's HOA obtain help to reserve planning or budgeting to replace gas, water heaters, or boilers? So this is definitely part of the technical assistance that the program provides. So really any property, HOA, rental, and the others that David Segan mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we recommend folks submit an interest form to get them enrolled in the program, and then the program's technical assistance will work with that property, understand the needs and opportunities at the property, conduct a site visit to evaluate the scope of work, and then as part of that technical assistance, we can provide a list of recommended upgrades, associated energy savings, and rebate eligibility. And as part of that, we can include, general cost averages for some of those upgrades to help inform that decision making. So, if there's a particular property in mind, I would definitely recommend submitting an interest form, which I'll put into the chat momentarily. Let's see here. I know we got some more questions coming in. Are there any plans to offer incentives for audits? The short answer to that is no. The program is providing no cost technical assistance. And so for properties that are interested in enrolling in the program, the AEA team will do the site assessments and develop that scope of work at no cost to the property owner. And so that hopefully reduces barriers to folks that would otherwise need to obtain an energy audit from an outside consultant. So that service is part of the program with the goal then to have that property install upgrades and receive rebates. When will the program be ready to review applications? Today. So the interest form, I'll put that in the chat right now. It's at the 3C-REN website. So please submit any interest forms, you have for any prospective projects or properties that you're interested in enrolling in the program. And the program team will bring those in and officially bring them into the program pipeline and start doing the site assessment and technical assistance support. Logistics questions. This one be for you, Marissa or Sean. Can we get the slide and recording as separate resources? I would like to share the slides with various staff departments.
Yes, absolutely. We're recording this and it'll be up on our website to view. We'll also send out the slides from today's presentation and a one-pager for your reference.
Great. Well, I think we've gotten through all of the written questions in the chat function. If folks have additional questions, please enter them into the chat. Or if folks want to ask a verbal question, go ahead and raise your hand, and hopefully Sean, the Zoom maestro, can find you and unmute you, and hopefully you can ask your question verbally. Sean, are you seeing any raised hands?
Nick, no raised hands right now, but I do see another question in the chat.
Got it. Thanks. From Chris, what is the total program incentive budget? Marissa, is that something you can answer? I can take it's the generally speaking, the program's goals on an annual basis is to serve 1,600 apartment units. So we have enough incentives to cover on an annual basis 1,600 apartments worth of upgrades. So, depending on the average size of the multifamily properties that enroll in the program, that could be anywhere, around 50 properties per year that are eligible for upgrades and incentives, plus or minus 10 properties, depending on the actual number of units in each property that enrolls.
Yeah, I don't have an actual dollar budget amount offhand, but I'm happy to find that, and I can include that in the follow-up.
And Nick, not seeing any more hands raised either.
Okay. Well, maybe wait just 10, 15 second countdown here. If anyone has any final questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or raise your hand. Marissa, I'll hand it to you for closing.
That was a long 10, 15 seconds. But if any other questions do come up after this, feel free to respond to the email, get in touch with the team. We're happy to answer any other questions that do come up. But with that, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. I think Nick put the link to the interest form in the chat. Please do fill that out if you've got a project you're interested in enrolling. The project team will be in touch shortly. And then, as I mentioned, we'll send out the slides from today's presentation along with a program one-pager with a little bit more information on the program. And the recording will be available tomorrow. And thank you all and have a great day.